We're gonna break down the career of Sohrab Moradi, the master of the dad bod, and we're gonna start right now. So when we're looking at weightlifters, it's interesting because a lot of people say, well, they barely look strong. They have that dad bod. And I think one of the interesting aspects is like most times it's because their quads and glutes and hamstrings and back are just so well developed. And then they might lack a little bit of muscular hypertrophy on their chest or on their shoulders because they spend so much time actually doing pulls and squatting. And that does bring up a discussion that we're gonna have in the future around should weightlifters be bench pressing and could that increase some of their hypertrophy on their shoulders and is that necessary? But that's not a discussion that we're gonna look at right now. What we wanna do is analyze how Moradi snatched 189 kilos and at the Olympics snatched 182 to win it in Rio. And then how he clean and jerked 233, but also look at some interesting aspects around his career as a junior. I wanna make a brief comparison there and then talk about, of course, his positive drug test. Okay, so first let's check this out right here. I believe when you look at his technique and his technical movement, fairly freaking solid. So he's on his third attempt here in Rio. Knees come back pretty well. Look how freaking jacked his calves are right there. Holds that position where his chest comes up, stays flat-footed here. Now watch how long he stays flat-footed, okay? So if we get to right about here, that bar's almost directly in his hip when he's making contact. And look at how he moves his feet. A lot of coaches tend to teach where their feet sort of jump super, super high, but watch how he just slides them out, okay? And then we can see as that comes off his hip, okay, comes off his hip, where his elbow's going, finishes with that big shrug back, elbows come back, and then he rotates, okay, and gets that nice punch, okay, nice finish there. Slightly out of position, but that's 182 kilos at 94K body weight. And so at this point, I want to say that's 2016. He's 35 right now. So if we do that quick math, what was he, 28 years old? So in the prime of his career there. And I've always thought it's interesting. I forget which elbow he ended up dislocating, but he always had a little bit of a sag from that left side. Okay, so this is where we see, this is his forte. Clean and jerk was where he would just cement everybody and put them into the ground. Okay, and we could see that dating back to, I wanna say all the way back to like, even 2012, he was starting to become very, very dominant. It's interesting because if you look at his career, when he went to the World Championships in 2008, okay, in 2008, he got like 21st or 22nd. And I want to say he snatched like 145 or 150, somewhere around there, clean and jerk like 190, something like that. And if we look at his junior career, okay, this is where I wanted to make the comparison. When he was a junior, he got third at Junior World Championships. He snatched 141, if I remember, I wrote down these notes because I wanted to make that comparison. So he snatched 141, he clean and jerked 177 as a 77K lifter. A comparison could be Harrison Morse. He was a freak. Harrison Morse is a 77, snatched 155 or 156 and then clean and jerked over 200. So in comparison, Harrison had that higher potential early on in his career. I'm even gonna compare him to a 77K lifter that we had, Tanner Reichert. To get on that Junior World Championship team, he snatched 130, clean and jerked 165. Now his best for 135 and then 170. He never hit the jerk, but he hit the clean. Worked hard, but was never a full-time all-go weightlifter. Within about 2 years as a junior, hit numbers relatively comparable to Moradi. Now, we're looking at this. One big aspect that I've always liked with his clean is it's just super, super simple, right? It's again, watch the foot movement, watch that foot movement. Look at how upright his chest is when it comes off the hip. He gets right back in. It's almost like he shrugs. It's almost like he's shrugging himself to the bar. It's a real interesting pattern that I think that might be something that a lot of people think about because they tend to throw themselves back instead of almost feeling like this. Super strong dude, huge back squat, which we'll see later, and then just has a really nice, easy jerk. Okay, sometimes I thought he would keep his back leg a little bit locked out, but again, good movement pattern. And I think a lot of people, and I think you can see on that side angle, that's like the side angle there where people are like, oh, he's got a dad bod. So he wins the Olympic title in Rio, sort of come out from that bomb out in 2012, come back in Rio and end up winning it. This dude, if I remember correctly, also tested positive, and I do not think has his medal anymore. This dude used to scream and do like backflips. I think he still has his medal, but I'm not positive. This is 17. This is when he wins his first world title. Okay, so he goes out after Rio. And the interesting part too is that he at that point sort of burst on the scene in Rio and a little bit prior to that with different competitions. I even think he might have qualified for Rio. If I remember correctly, there was like a weird thing where they let him lift at like a Pan American Championship. It was some weird thing that they let him come in to compete in Pan Americas to hit a total, or he was at least on that start list. There was some weird stuff going on. But the reason being was he was banned from 2013. He had tested positive for methadone. Interesting aspect around methadone. Methadone's a drug that is used typically to wean individuals off of heroin. Fairly effective for getting people off of heroin, but also it's really effective for getting people to be addicted to then methadone. Okay, so a lot of people use it for drug addictions. And then some instances, because it's an opioid, it is really potent for pain relief. So I'm wondering if there was pain relief. It could have also been a masking agent. I have no idea, but he did test hot for methadone. Now, he came out, goes in through the Olympics in Rio and ends up winning, and then comes to Anaheim and just goes absolutely ballistic. And if we look at 17, 18, what he accomplished in those years, snatching 189, and then also, you know, breaking the world record multiple times and clean and jerking 233. And that's what we're looking at right here. This is a 233K clean and jerk. And again, I want to pay attention to those chests. It's like contact, contact, boom, right into the catch. And that's where you see Haley pulls like this, very similar to that. And he almost timed himself out, ironically, but he still hits that, stands it up, and then gets right into that. So let's actually watch this in full speed. Oh yeah, he timed out. Classic weightlifting. Classic weightlifting. And we wonder why we have issues, dude. It's so funny. It's like we wonder, this lift is absolutely insane, but weightlifting can't even follow their own rules. Okay, right there. If the bar is below the knee at the time when the buzzer goes, it's a no lift. And they gave him this lift. They gave him that lift, and it's, dude, I never even saw that. So the fact that I'm seeing this right now, again, this lift is huge, but you have to compete within the rules. Dude, that's a huge clean and jerk, 233. Jury. Jury doesn't do anything. I think the weird part is like, what was it? That was his second lift. Red light him. Jury, come back together, and then tell him he's got to do it again. But watch that technique though. Watch that dip. Okay, watch that dip. Watch how his elbows stay up. Boom, at the bottom of the dip. His elbows are still in that like front squat position. And I think that this is textbook, absolute textbook technique that everybody could follow. A lot of people tend to dip forward and rock forward. And if you can hold even like right at 45 degrees, boom, boom, and you almost drive those elbows up at the bottom of the dip, he's got one of the best dip and drives I think that you could ever imagine. What's interesting is I think you can even see his coaches are sort of like, well, we don't know if they're going to give it to you. We'll see what our corrupt judges can do. So this is a 185K snatch. This is huge for a 94. Also think about, this dude totaled 403 at the Olympics. I want to say he totaled 403 at the Olympics. And then as a 96, I think he totaled like, let me see, as a 96, he totaled he totaled 417 in freaking Anaheim, and he totaled 416 in Ashgabat. What? Those are insane totals. Not as insane as Yuri's totals, but still insane. So I think this is 185, and he just strokes it right. And again, you're gonna see that good technical position, foot movement, boom, right in the slot. Quads are massive. I wanna say this is, okay, yeah, so this is in Turkmenistan, Ashgabat, 185. Huge. I think this is the big aspect, is it's like he gets that pull, his knees come back right here and out a bit. He goes back and out a bit, and that chest just keeps coming up. Chest just keeps driving up. Chest just keeps coming up. And then right here is where he gets a little bit onto the toes. That big vertical finish. Huge finish. Now what's crazy with Moradi too is he's 35. He actually competed this year, I think at the Asian Games. Another great angle. Chest up, chest up. So it's like as the bar gets below the knee, here's a cue that you guys can use when you get to the gym today to practice. When the bar gets below the knee, we call knee to above the knee, no man's land. When the bar gets below the knee, chest up hard. Bar below the knee, chest up really hard. Bar below the knee, chest up really hard. Because what tends to happen is that's the position where people tend to creep forward and they end up losing it. But I wanted to say that he actually lifted this year in Korea and did like a 162-200. That's insane. And he's 35. I think there was a dude, if I remember correctly, from Hungary who was like 35 or 37 and still smacking weights. Okay, so that's what we're seeing there. Now let's keep rolling. I like that technical aspect, but you can almost see there just a little bit of wonkiness in that left shoulder, left lat. Ashgabat 2017. Nice lift. That's the dad bod that we all are familiar with. And dude just moves absolutely phenomenally. So now we're gonna see, I think this is 233 if I remember correctly. This is 228. Again, I think the big thing is everything sounds so simple. And you can see there again. Let's just watch that again. Dip, 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 upright, drive upright, dip, upright, drive upright. Boom. Okay, another good angle here. Boom. And you can see like here, it's like he gets below the knee and then all of a sudden it's like right below the knee, drive the chest, and you can see that upright catch that he gets right there. Elbow, stay up, smacks it. Excellent lift. Chest up, boom. Okay, so let's keep going here. Boom. Great footage too. That one he does a much better job. You can see earlier, I think it was in Rio where I talked about that back knee was stiff, whereas right there, that's another big factor. You can sort of see from this position how it's like, all right, if we draw, that's where his footwork is. He's probably 40% of his weight is forward, 60% of his weight's back. So it puts a lot of load on the front foot, but he's very strong there. That's a nice sound jerk. Okay, so now we're gonna see 2018. This is in Indonesia. I think this is at the Asian Games. So that's 189. This is the world record, okay? 189. Gosh, that's crazy. Huge lift, huge lift. So we can see from this angle, knees come back. That's when the chest comes up. Chest up, nice long extension, boom. Simple footwork. That's the big aspect that we've got to all imprint with our athletes. It's simple footwork. We're not jumping all over the place. It's slide. Ooh, what's this, 200? Wait, that might be more than 200. I don't know, that's a 170 powers from the blocks. Jeez. Okay, so here's where we see that back squat. We're looking at 220, 270, plus 40, 310, 315. Oh geez, I just realized that this is on the screen. I'm an idiot. Okay, so we got a 315 back squat. You know, I mentioned that squatting capability that he has. You got those ZKC plates that they have. Look at that trunk, up. That's the whole thing with him. I think a lot of people miss out on is these quads are so freaking strong, and his, like that torso, he has what is dynamic trunk control. He holds that torso so upright. Honestly, I think if you're looking at like squat technique, that 315 is like the quintessential high bar back squat, full range of motion, ass to grass, technique that you could ever want. You have that full, that super upright position. That's gonna transfer over to the lifts really well. That's gonna help with that chest coming up when the bar is at the knee. And over a long period of time, if you can focus on that technical patterning, focus on the chest up cue, focus on the knees coming back, focus on that footwork, those are gonna be huge things that are gonna pay massive dividends long term. Sohrab Moradi, one of the greatest to ever do it. A lot of stuff just around his career. He's still lifted in 2023. I do think he recently announced that he's retiring. Use him as a technical guide, especially a lot of people struggle with the jerk, especially at the bottom of that dip and as you get back into that vertical drive. Watch his elbows and how upright he is, and that's all related to that back squat technique. If you guys need help with your programming, head over to peakstrength.app and you can get into our Olympic weightlifting program where we got 6 days, 5 days, 4-day options for you to hit those monster PRs. Because remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.